We, a friend and a falcon went missing. In pain, I turned to slaughterhouse. A few weeks before Trevor went missing and he disappeared. Until a few weeks before disappeared, she left one a few weeks before. पहले I knew कि Trevor भी हो गया. She went one day in the. She left one day in 2022. Five May, last May, thousands of people look for her, but their hopes of Indonesian time went to an after a week, a local ornithologist told a reporter that ornithologist told birds. Okay. The amount of time she's been missing, it's probably that she has gone. News spread quickly that Annie, the most famous falcon in California, even North America, had likely been injured or killed. So birds given time she's been giving it, it's probably that she is going to news spread quickly that Annie, the most famous falcon in California. Yeah, before she disappeared, before she disappeared, more than people from all over the world watched her every day through live cameras. She disappeared. More than 20,000 people from all over the world watched her every day through live cameras. The ornithology had placed near her nest on top of a tower at the near her nest on top of a tower in University of California, Berkeley. She has an her lifelong mate. Criminal first showed up in here before the इसे मिसिंग हो गई है तो पहले सारे लोग जो देखते थे इसका लाइफ टाइम मेट था फर्स्ट शोड अप इन सोलह में एंड सो बिकेम आइकॉनिक इन वाइल्डनेस आर्गुमेंट्स को देखा गया था बहुत ही आइकॉनिक इमेज होगा सारे को आई स्टार्टेड वाचिंग एनी ड्यूरिंग द कोविड 19 after hearing a colleague talk about her as though she was an old friend. ठीक है मैंने इसने ऑथर ने भी मतलब और ठीक है सर इसके बारे में मैंने ये क्या वो क्या थोड़ी से बताते था इसको मोस्टली द कैमरा शोड हर फर्स्ट ऑन अ लेजर ठीक है क्योंकि कैमरा में कैसे दिखती थी अभी इसकी मतलब रेड टू ये बताएगा आई गेस मोस्टली द कैमरा शोड हर फर्स्ट ऑन अ लेजर हर येलो रिंग eyes searching the metropolis below I was mesmerized by Annie's vulnerability and strength she was a promise of what might survive in the face of all we were losing it when I looked through the eyes of the cameras I felt my own animal self staring at another on the opposite side of the screen. Sometimes she seemed so close I felt. Sometimes she seemed so close I felt I could put my face to her feathers. ठीक है यानी कि हम ये क्या क्या करते थे मतलब ये बता रहा है इसका कैसा रिलेशन था उसके साथ में एंड इज नेस्ट atop the tower was about 25 minutes from my house. When she went missing, I searched the sky for her pointed blue-gray wings, imagining them spreading nearly 3 feet through the sky, with dark brown bars making strict horizons across her white chest. But I saw only sky. नहीं मिली इसको इसने सर्च किया 3,000 miles away, just a few weeks after Annie disappeared from the Falcon cameras. A different camera caught a 45-year-old man 3,000 miles away, just a few weeks after. A different 3,000 miles away, a different camera caught a 45-year-old man leaving his car in the parking lot of a beach in New York. It was 2:30 in the morning. The camera showed him leaving his vehicle and walking toward the water, then faded to blue. Next day, his family reported him missing. खाऊंगा
हाँ
ठीक
ठीक
पढ़
है
रहा
ना
हूँ बार बार तो परेशान
हाँ
करे मत करो ठीक car was still in the parking lot है ठीक है इसकी कार ये थे few miles from where we both grew up ठीक है इसका कोई दोस्त होगा I guess I had known Annie for only a few years of my adult life, but I had known her ever since I was 17 years old. We got to know each other at the end of 2003, right around the time the European Union was established, and Toni Morrison won the Nobel Prize in Literature and said their prize. इसको मैं कट कर सकता था 19 and we grew closer the following year as we spent more and more time with each other. I remember watching the infamous police car chase O.J. Simpson from the slaughterhouse, Slaughterhouse 5 and the Children's Crusade, a guilty dance with death. I couldn't get Slaughterhouse 5 out of my head after Trevor and Annie went missing. When I first read it and learned about Wonget's protagonist, a Second World War vet named Billy Pilgrim who becomes unstuck in time, my brain exploded. तो उसने वाला इसे protagonist का brain explode हो गया था. Over the course of the book, Billy returns to different moments in his life, including the war, the period when he lived naked in a zoo on a planet. These aliens who live every moment over and over again. Billy learns that this time is not linear. At all different moments, just the way we can look at a stretch of rocky mountains. It is just an illusion to have here on earth that one moment follows another one, like beads on a string, and once a moment is gone, it is gone forever. From these aliens who live every moment over and over again, Billy learns that time is linear. True. After Trevor went missing, the ache to believe this was true. The ache to believe this was true was so surprising and shock. After Trevor went, the ache to believe this was true, and the ache to believe the ache to believe this was true was so, this was true, was so surprising and shock. After Trevor went missing, the ache to believe this was true was so surprising and sharp. I felt in my chest. If we couldn't find him in his present moment, would he still be somewhere else? Maybe back when we were just kids, when everything was as fine as it was. I let myself dream. ओके ये मतलब मोमेंट के बारे में अगर दो मोमेंट दिखा कर सकती है मिसिंग हो गया तो उसे लोगों इल्यूजन है ये ना जरूर Travel went missing the to believe that police was to so situation चला I felt I couldn't find him in present moment में नहीं है तो वो could be still somewhere maybe back when मेरा ड्रीम है प्रेजेंट मोमेंट में तो नहीं मिल रहा था मतलब कहीं और था Slaughterhouse 5 is a story of time travel, but it is also a story about death. You know, Slaughterhouse 5 death. So many people die in Slaughterhouse 5. Everywhere Bill goes, it seems someday somebody has died or is going to die. They die during battle, they die during illness, they die in plane crashes. His wife dies from carbon monoxide poisoning. Bill himself is murdered. Time travel identity. The largest number of deaths take place in Dresden in Germany, where the woman was also a prisoner of war, locked up in like a protagonist, lo- was also a prisoner of war, locked up like his protagonist Billy in a pig slaughterhouse. And I believe we also survived the firebombing in 1945, which destroyed the city and killed as many as 25,000 people. So it goes. ठीक है, अब तब ये टाइम ट्रेवल इसको रिलेट कर रहा है. एवरी टाइम देयर इज अ डेथ इन द बुक द narrator repeats two three words, the phrase. So it goes is written 106 times across the 186 pages of the first edition. When Salman Rushdie wrote about this Mongolian mantra for the New Yorker for the book on the book's 50th anniversary, we claim that most people who hear the phrase accept it as a resigned commentary in mantra for accept it as a resigned commentary. Life rarely comes out in a way the living hopeful. In the way the living hopeful. Life rarely turns out in the way the living hopeful. The way living hopeful. And so it goes has become one of the ways in which we verbally shrug our shoulders and accept life what life gives us. But Rushdie doesn't think that it what Rushdie doesn't or Rushdie doesn't think that it is what wanted to say. The phrase is not a way of accepting life, but rather of facing death. ठीक है, इसने बोला सो इट गोज है, सो इट गोज है, तो सारे लोग थे बस हो गए तो हमारे को. और ये बोल रहे हैं, नहीं एक्सेप्ट कर लो लाइफ को, फेस करो उसे डेथ को. द आयरनी ऑफ so it goes is that it communicates the depths of grief hidden within an acceptance of how things are. Beneath the apparent resignation is a sadness for which there are no words of expression. When I read Slaughterhouse-Five the first time, I bristled at how often "so it goes" appeared on the pages. No death is immune to it. Billy says the phrase after the death of his wife, after the greatest massacre in European history, and after the potential end of the universe. It does not matter if death is merely part of the natural order of things or follows a brutal massacre. So it goes is always waiting to punctuate the end of life. I wonder if the effect flattened the sharp and personal pitch. I wondered if the effect flattened the sharp and personal pain of grief into something so generic that it might desensitize us to it entirely. I wondered if the effect the same blanket over death's many faces, no matter how near or far, big or small. So it goes is always waiting to punctuate the end of life. When I reread the novel again after Trevor disappeared, ठीक है इसने पहले कुछ अब दूसरी आएगी शायद. When I reread the novel again after Trevor disappeared, I no longer understood the phrase as a spell. मैं ले लूंगा, मैं अपना काम कर रहा हूँ. रख लो ठीक, टाइम है करके उठूंगा ना, बीच बीच में पीता रहूँ. Disappeared, I no longer understood the phrase as a shock or a resignation. ठीक है, when I read the instead I read those softly with tenderness as a mantra, gesturing to the ways we have all been wounded by loss. Resignation निकरा इसने. Instead, I read those three words. Instead, I read those three words softly with tenderness as a mantra, gesturing to the ways we have all been wounded by loss. Even as we still try to save who inwardly love. ठीक है. Way for us to face each other to connect with the ones still alive, those left with the active work of grieving, to accept the suffering of the world. It's a word that can connect us to each other, expressing the grief of being alive together, expanding, shrinking this experience. It is both a contradiction and an invocation, creating the indescribable sadness of living through loss, a sadness for which there are no words. If so, it goes help us to face. So it goes help us to face each other through our shared suffering and how did we want us to face our death. ठीक है ये इसका भी यही था. So it goes help us to face each other through our shared suffering and face each other. I think he offers a way to do this by describing linear time as an illusion. ठीक है ये I think he offers a way to this. I think he offers us a way to do this by describing linear time as an illusion by showing us that time doesn't really follow a linear sequence like beats. Instead, he was imagining us freed if only from the constraints of grief. When our audience is a proof, so Billy explains all he thinks is that the dead person is in a bad condition in that particular moment, but that the same person is just fine in plenty of other moments. The possibility of time travel, of non-linearity, let us take a breath from the pain by imagining a non-linear escape, even if there was nothing we could do to stop the arrival for suffering in real time. Medium. I had seen Trevor in more than 15 years, and when Mike first called to tell me he was missing, Mike called from the beach as he was searching for him. He told me Trevor had not been well for months. He was not acting like himself. Trevor and I became friends nearly 30 years ago, and when we were seniors in high school. We both chose to take a leadership class that culminated in student-led performance meant to educate our peers also. Having no experience either with sense of the education of others, I have no idea why I took this class. I was awkward in my one-piece jumpsuit that gave me the air of a car mechanic with my frizzy brown hair held back by a heavy brass clip that looked like I stole a trumpet from the marching band expression. Though I couldn't recite every love poem by in English, it grows and roams within us, he writes. Star athlete in a popular straight, a student he took is a student who he took pleasure in being paternal figure to choose to those closest to him. He was knowledgeable about everything and loved by everyone who met him. I don't remember our conversation after last hour. The conversation on the weekends, they weren't really conversations, they were almost always arguments. No topic was too big or small or beyond. We debated the reasons for very many success, the benefits of sharing a birthday with a sibling, the geopolitics of Russia, and whether it was better to stay where we grew or leave. The tension in our debates was playful, but though it were also sticking up in and mapping our ambitions calm and rational mind state. Sometimes, though we didn't talk at all, we would walk along the beach or park at an overlook facing a nearby park or lay on the roof of his parents. Sometimes I sat in his lap in the driver's seat while he thought me how to drive down the hills. When he kissed me at one night, I thought I could never read another narrative along the same way. Now, nearly 30 years later, Trevor's car sat empty in a beach parking a lot of miles from the overtook. I sat in a chair, waited for him by my window, just like I did when I was 17. And when I finally fell asleep, I dreamt about a boy and a girl. In my dream, they were together, they were safe. Car sat empty. Yes. Nameless word appear at the beginning and the end of Slaughterhouse Five. The first intelligent to say about a massacre. Everything is supposed to be very quiet after a massacre, except for the birds. But what do the birds say? All there is to say about a massacre things like this is how the novel ends. So, as the trees leaf out, the silence after death is broken only by a bird who asks Billy a question. Okay. According to the journalist Tom Roster, approximately 4 piece photos have been sold every year throughout the 21st century. I think so many of us boast any on the cameras for the same reasons we read novel. You बढ़ जाए हम इसको तो घड़ियों में मिलेगा. Do you wanted to see a pilgrim clearly? You wanted to witness a living being. हमें ये देखना था कि कैसे डेंजरस लाइफ चल रही है. Despite wanted to imagine a world where it was possible to endure it. Despite for me, existential threats and the threats are effective over change. You wanted to travel through time in space. Wanted to believe it anything was possible. Which was possible. It was the history of the people.
Peregrine, Peregrine,
and a tale that might make you believe anything is possible. It is a story written with absences as development spread across the United States at the turn of the 20th century. And by the mid 1960s, the Caribbean falcons were extirpated from the eastern US while their numbers started declining. Stood thin and weakened, making them unable to support the weight of incubating monster, which nearly wiped the Caribbeans off the face of the earth. The species was declared endangered in principle, and by according to California Department of Fish and Wildlife, there was just over 300 known falcon pairs in the US. And the decade after the was banned, and falcons started to make their from the instance and introduced. Today, even though the Arabian Falcons have been restored to their historic range, they are still threats. Before anyone missing a she and her partner rose to the and battled Falcons for their territory. And months before any disappearing himself, Colonia was even found vomiting nearly dead on top of the highways. Can not they survive? I think this is part of the reason why thousands of people look for Annie's when she disappeared. A team of volunteers monitored the tower and as people all over the world watched for it on live cameras. Ornithologists made guesses about her death. She was likely injured while hunting birds. She was trapped in a building. Maybe she went to visit falcon relatives and if it was and got hurt. After she was missing for a weekend, most presumed she was dead. The ornithologists who helped launch tell falcons to the first set of the falcon cameras that she may have died. Unfortunately, we believe that Annie has either been displaced from identity. Unfortunately, we believe that Annie has either been displaced from something is in jail or death. For years, so many people had voiced her love that now the grief was shared publicly for the ornithologist. The hardest comments to read were from the elementary school teachers who medical grief counselor to distract from confidence. The 90s, after Annie went missing, a scientist caught sight of Falcon sitting on the edge of Annie's nest. She had calmly returned, seemed impossible. A falcon returned from a dead missing. A few weeks later, again asking the same question. If I could just figure out how Annie got back, I could figure out the same pattern. As I read it so close, well, I hope things will finally come right in. But Annie's written might promise to reply the inevitable. But hope is so thin, barely able to hold the weight of life. And sometimes inevitable isn't what you imagine it to be. On the last day of March, nearly a month after Annie and Grinnell reunited, a pedestrian found Grinnell's mangled body in the middle of a street in downtown Portland. The group who monitored the Falcon family spoke for thousands of us all over the world. The group who monitored the Falcon family spoke for thousands of us all over the world. We are devastated and heartbroken. Either he was in a fight The Georgia suspect believed boat too close to the road and was struck by a car. His body was too disturbed for an autopsy. In August, on the last night before Trevor left for college, Mike invited friends to sleep over at his house. So said Trevor and I stayed up long after everybody went to sleep, talking softly. In my diary, I later wrote, and I told him everything I needed to. I didn't elaborate. What did my sentiment about so need to say? That he was the best person I knew, that I was in awe of the way he took care of the people he loved, that I knew he would make a life in a tiny town. Never leave, never come home. They were together. I woke again and again to find him looking at me, tracing my face with his fingers, like a sailor trying to remember a map or a child memorizing lines into a book. In the morning, we drove down to the harbor, sat in the parking lot, in touch as friends and colleagues, and connecting when we were on school breaks, writing long letters to each other that eventually those parts as we stretched into the when he went missing, I searched these letters with things that might foreshadow the sickness that would come later. But I found only good memories. Last time I saw him in person was during the summer of last time I saw him in person was during the summer of 2004. We spent a weekend together with friends at a small beachside cottage for Max wedding. I was almost 30 years living in a shared apartment in Harlem. I was waiting, getting and used to woman in love. I was feeling simple and so with the acute just I would marry a few years later. Taylor and I had grown into comfortable days in our youngster since high school and easily still building to the family of winter four friends who were together. That summer, on the night before the wedding, Kevin, Mike, and I returned to our general sites as we were already tethered here. We returned for just a night to remember who we were when the world was young and we were just up, waking up late. The three of us stayed up talking and laughing until the orange lady was infested over the way. I later wrote in my journal कि कहीं बात कर रहे थे. Everybody should know what and later wrote in my journal. Everybody should know what it is to have friends like these. Everybody should know what it is to have to love like this. His body was taken from a busy street in Berkeley. Trevor's body was found in the water, not far from where he was last seen. I wanted to attend the funeral, but with young children to take care of them, it was impossible. Friends said there was a line all the way around the globe. See where pinned. The friend said the day was a line all the way around the globe. After nearly hundreds of mornings, left flowers, leaves, the foot of the pumpkins made on. But only one day later, another falcon was spotted and he missed. Named him New Guy. The old ghost is New Guy depended on this from other ghosts. Sat in the woods, even grew a larger and shared with him. She was seen copulating with him before leaving another one. How could she move on so quickly? Bones wondered if her bones were being persistent. John Falcons wait for life. When he had been with me for many years, but the raptor expert who had faith in Indians Odyssey, for acceptance of the new fighting in new circles, she only has two imperatives, survival and reproduction. This isn't the right thing. Grief as healers understand it does not seem to be an imperative for I started to wonder what we might have to learn from him. What did her version of So It Goes look like? I wondered if she was more limited and far from home, with a different sense of time and permanence. A sense more negative, hopeful, as look at all the different moments. Was they were weekend for distinction, which is also music. Did she wonder, like I did, if someone she was close to right now is somewhere else in another moment, maybe back when she was younger, when everything was fine? Did she dream too? No one knows. It's in my mind. I hear his laugh so vividly, and certainly he is in car with me, but these debates are not a product of time travel. In We Who Died in 2007 is 84, he wasn't only trying to show us the non-linearity of time. He was trying to non-linear of time and horrors of more than he wrote for transfer by offering us a portrait of personal and universal grief. The way that close permeates our lives, he was pointing towards something else. Yeah. Steve Armand captures this in his next review to me. It's a title, Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing. We has been trying to explain most of us for most of his life. Despair is a form of hope. It is an acknowledgement of the distance between ourselves and our appointed happiness. Despair because grief is a precondition of being alive. I'm not sure Armand meant to imply that it was despair itself that gives one hope. Hope, I think, lives in the possibility of a shared realization. It our understanding of the universality and inevitability of this despair that connects us to each other and helps us endure and make meaning from it. The words so it goes have always belonged to the lexicon. So some time nothing in the end that might be over pilgrimage or be to the arcs of time longing to close with the distance between ourselves awake and our appointed. So it goes. Imagine for us is this in an ultimate so it goes in and that we should know how lucky we are to have them now and not to say these words. That we might say them to each other with a softness that connects us, and with the hope that perhaps one day somebody will say them to all our own bodies, making a full circle point, even it's the miracle me. ये बताया इसे डिस्प्ले